just reviewing. I don't know why I always say literally, like as if it's not literally. Kind of annoying. I'm going to try this fuckery. So we are going to review what we did yesterday as well. So we're going to do two things. We're going to review yesterday's stuff, and I'm going to give you a farmer question. Oh, that's what I hear. Okay. Remember that after the fourth unit, you have a cumulative, and then you have cumulative and cumulative. So we're going to keep up with our stuff so we don't lose it. I have to re-remember it. Also, if you're someone who is wanting to do the rewrite daily thingy, Wednesday at lunch, don't forget it. Put it in your phone, because you know by Wednesday at lunch you don't forget it.
Is it just rewrite on Wednesday, or can you also put in for like?
No, you don't get to rewrite until you come in for extra stuff. So I'm going through how to study and stuff like that. So the Wednesday and the Thursday at lunch are with me. No, you still don't get to write the test at that point. Yeah, because if not, it's just the same thing over, and I don't want that. Okay, so Wednesday, Thursday at lunch, put it in your phones. I promise you, you're going to forget, because I'm going to probably forget. The difference is I'm stuck here and don't ever leave here, so even if I forget, you'll show up, and I'll be like, oh, right. But if you don't put it in your phones, you won't show up, and that'll be a problem. So I'll put it in the phone. And then if it don't make my phone, it doesn't make my life. That's how my life rolls. So, Farmer Frank. Just came up with him. He sounds like a great guy. Farmer Frank has, what does he have? He has 960 meters of fence. To fence a four-sided pen. Determine the dimensions and maximum area of the pen. So remember, we can look at our notes, but when we get to the test, we should be at a point that we don't need our notes anymore. So when you're entering a test, you should be able to do the question without your notes. So if you're still using your notes when you're studying the night before your test, you're in trouble, right? Because the notes will not be with you the next day. So we are going to always know that when we get to the test, we have to be able to complete the question without our notes beside us, right? And if we can do that, we will rock the test. If we still need our notes, we still need to keep practicing that question until we don't need our notes to give us hints. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, I want you to determine the X-intercepts. What other word could I use for X-intercepts? Roots. What other word? Zeros. Algebraically. The only algebraically you know right now is factoring, so I have to make sure it can factor. And then check with your calculator. You do those two as well. So whenever we have a farmer question, we have four sides of the fence, we always set up a perimeter question, and perimeters are either a length and two widths, or two widths and two lengths, or they could be the one where it's a multiple pens. If it was multiple pens, which this one is not, say it was like this, this would be a whole length, this would be a whole length, this would be a width, a width, a width, a width. So you'd have two lengths plus four widths if it was a pen, right? So I can give you pen questions. I didn't, but I could. I gave you the easiest one, which was just 2 lengths and 2 widths. Okay. So we'd have the perimeter, which is 960, equals 2 lengths, 2 lengths. 2 widths and 2 lengths. I need a long weekend. It's real. I've been struggling speaking all day today. It is only 11:47, but it feels like it's bedtime for me. All right. Just gonna sit here. So you could either see, I'm not joking. Something is wrong with me. I'm laughing, but inside scared. Okay, you can either isolate the W or you can isolate the L. I'm going to isolate the L because it's what we've kind of done the whole time, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to go 2 lengths equals negative 2W plus 960. Divide by 2. Length equals negative W plus 480. Thanks. So helpful. Then we do max area, which is length times width. But our length is actually negative W plus 480 times the width. I'm just skipping the length times width step because I don't have a lot of room. And then we're going to get negative W squared plus 480W. And then what do we always have to do after this? Complete the square. So we're going to take out a negative 1. Then we're going to get W squared minus 480W plus something. Now how I get that something is I go negative 480 divided by 2 and square it, which is negative 240 squared, which is it like, help me, 575,760? I don't know what it is. What's 20? Yeah? No? As well? Yes, it needs to have 2 zeros. That's squared. It's 57,600. Oh, I should just try and get it right. Okay, now, we didn't actually, I know it looks like we added 57,600, correct? But we actually went negative 1 times it, so we actually subtracted it, so that's why we add 57,600 at the end. Or people sometimes will write minus. You just have to do the opposite. So remember, if your leading coefficient is negative, then the number you're going to do, you're going to add it, which makes sense, because you can't have a negative maximum area. Because remember, this number back here is your maximum area. If it's negative, that makes no sense. That should scare you. Okay, if you have minus 57,600, at the very least make it a plus, because it makes no sense as a minus. Negative 57,600 is not right. All right, let me keep going. Negative 1, 4 minus 240 squared plus 57,600. So there's my max area. This is my width. It should be a minus because when I take it out, it's a plus. You need to have a minus in here. Because if it's a plus in there, when you take it out, it's a negative width. Is that such a thing? Once again, you should go back, try again, because that should make no sense to you when you take it out. So take it out, it's positive. 240 meters. And then how do I get my length? Well, my length is my max area, which is 57,600 meters squared, divided by 240 meters. And what does that get me? 240? What kind of pen is this? It's a square pen. Craziness. So my dimensions are 240 meters by 240 meters. It's a square pen. I don't know why I did black with black with black. It's a little excessive. I'm going to go blue. Okay, when I make you find the x-intercepts algebraically, your very first step when it's a quadratic is to get everything to one side, set it equal to 0. That's what you're going to do this whole unit. Whenever it's not equal to 0, you will make it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 7 over first. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x minus 7 equals 0. And then I have to factor it. What times what gets me negative 7? What plus what equals negative 6? Negative 7 and 1. And I can go right to brackets because there's a 1 in front. So x minus 7, x plus 1. So I get x minus 7 equals 0, x equals 7 by adding it over. X plus 1 equals 0, x equals negative 1 by subtracting it over. And then my x-intercept would actually be at 7, 0, negative 1, 0. B is a little harder because you actually have to do decomposition. But remember with these, you should be able to type into your calculator x squared minus 6x minus 7 in your y equals, and because these are both integer values, I could just go second graph and look for them on the table, right? The only time you can't look for them on the table is if they're a fraction. And that'll happen whenever you have decomp. You'll have at least one fraction. Okay? So for this one, we could have just went and looked in our table of values and reassured ourselves. This one, I have to add the 3x over and subtract the 2. Or I could subtract the 2x squared over, but then it would be a negative 2x squared, which a lot of people don't like. So we get 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. And I say what times what equals 2 times negative 2, so negative 4. What plus what equals the middle number, which is 3. And I get 4 and negative 1. So I get 2x squared. This gets replaced with plus 4x minus 1x minus 2 stays equals 0. And then I group. Take out a 2x, x plus 2. This one I have to get an x plus 2, so I'm going to take out a negative 1, x plus 2. So I get 2x minus 1 and x plus 2. So I'm going to get 2x minus 1 equals 0. Add the 1 over. 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X equals a half. And then do the other one. X plus 2 equals 0. X equals negative 2. Now I'm going to show you another way instead of actually, if you're just using your calculator to check your x-intercepts, there's a really easy way, even if it's a fraction. So if you're using your calculator to find the x-intercepts because they're letting you do it graphically, or it's a multiple choice, or it's a numeric response, and you can choose to use graphically, that's different. Then you actually have no idea where you're going with this, right? But if you're using your calculator to check your algebraic answer, there's an easy way to check it. So we're all going to go to our calculators and we're going to type in 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. 2x squared plus 3x minus 2, zoom 6. So there it is. Looks like I'm right. But if I want to check if I'm actually right, remember there's a place I can always put my x values in and see what my y is. And if it's an x-intercept, I'm hoping my y is what? What's my y's for my x-intercepts always? 0. So remember, we can always go second, trace, value, and I can put in any x here, right? So I'm going to put in a half. I'm going to go 1 divided by 2. Or I could go 0.5. And what do I get? 0. I'm right. Correct? I don't have to use the other method. Can you use the other method? Absolutely. Do you have to use the other method if you haven't actually found what the answer is and you're using your calculator? Yep. This only works for checking. Then I go second, trace, value again, and I put in the negative 2. And I get 0. So it's a quick way to check it. Right? The next ones I'm giving you, our 2 questions. I don't want them done algebraically, because I'm not going to make them that they can be done algebraically. I want you to have to find the answers using your calculator, and if it's a decimal, I want you to round to the nearest hundredth. And if you don't know what that is, because your brain has forgotten elementary school, which has been a while, remember that the number of decimal places that they want you to go to matches the number of zeros in the word. So hundredth, how many zeros are in a hundredth? 2, because 100 has 2 zeros, so it's 2 decimal places. If they want to the nearest tenth, how many zeros are in 10? 1, so that's 1 decimal place. If they want thousandth, how many zeros are in the thousand? 3. It's just the number of zeros in the word. Okay? So there's 3 zeros in the word, 3 decimal places. So I want hundredths, so 2 decimal places. Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. This is number 4, I believe. No, number 3. Number 3a, I want you to do 2x squared minus 2x plus 4 equals 0. Let me check first. I might have no X-intercept. I'm going to have to put a negative in there. Yeah. Make this be minus 4. I need to drop my y-intercept below. Yeah. This needs to be a minus 4. Or else the graph's completely above. Equals 0. And then b negative 3x squared equals negative 2x minus 6. I just want you to use your calculator. Give me the x-intercepts. So if we look at this first one, we're going to plug that into our calculator. So we're going to plug in 2x squared minus 2x minus 4. And we have to find our x-intercepts. So we go second trace 2. Make this one work out. Enter. Enter, enter. Since that negative 1, I indirectly made these work out by just throwing random numbers out. Look at me. Second trace, and then 2. Now I need to go left onto this one. Enter, right onto this one. Enter, enter. I get 2 and 0. Well, those were nice. Does the next one work out nice too? Should I give you 2 nice ones? Next one should be decimal, shouldn't it? I like literally picked really ugly. Okay. It's like, it was not supposed to work out nicely. So, and they'll always say to like the nearest tenth if necessary. Like, you don't round to the nearest hundredth by put 0.00 unless it says unless it doesn't say if necessary, then you. All right. So we have negative 3x squared. So for this one, it's not letting me move it. Do you see this? I'm going to have to add the 2x over and then add the 6 over, right? Or I could have added the 3x squared over. Honestly, either way, you're going to get the same answers. One's just going to be concave up, one's going to be concave down. But they're going to pass through the same x-intercept, which is all we care about. So I'm going to add the 2x over and add the 6. Then I press graph. It looks really nice. Please tell me it's a decimal. Enter. Enter, enter. Ha-ha! Happy decimal. Yes. What I want. So, this is going to be negative 1.12 and 0. Right? And then I go second trace. Nope. Second trace, 2. And I do the other one. Left side of it. Enter. Right side of it. Enter, enter. 1.79 and 0. Now, I can go back and go x enter, and then math, enter, and see if it does anything to it. But it doesn't, right? These questions where the decimal can't be turned into a fraction will not be able to be solved algebraically by factoring. So factoring can solve for x-intercepts most of the time, but not all the time. So what we're going to learn when we come back on Wednesday is using the quadratic formula. It's this lovely little formula up here on the 30-1 sheet. See how it's here? It's also the lovely little formula on the bottom of the 30-2 sheet. You see how that formula is on both? Do you think the lesson on Wednesday is important? Très important en français. Actually, it is. Very, very, very important. Look at it. It's on both formula sheets. Isn't that miraculous? It's amazing. You're like, I don't need to learn it. Yeah, I do. On both. No matter where you're going unless you put it in math. Okay? Like, what's the